How you doing, Dan? Yeah, they're controlling that there. I think that we're not going to start the conversation yet, but good to see you anyway. I see you brought your guitar. I should have brought mine. Nice work on the video. A lot of hits on the video. Yeah.
You should be ready
Pork.
to start reading.
Okay.
Great, we're live.
Hello, 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 everybody. See, we got a packed house today over here, and my name is Chembo Corniel, and I am representing one of the bands at the New Rican Poets Cafe that have the Latin Jazz series, and this is my week today. So I'm here the first Wednesday of every month. Next week, Victor Rendon is going to be here, and then we have Willie Martinez. Okay, so we're beginning the month off. I hope everybody's okay. I hope everybody voted, and everybody's excited and biting their nails. I know that. So we're here to calm you down and play some congas for you. Okay, so now we're just gonna go over what Latin jazz again is. I know we always try to hit this subject in the beginning. We have a lot of people that check us out on these workshops that are non-musicians. Also, you know, there's poets and people who are curious to see what we're about. I play the conga drums, as you see here. These are conga drums, also called tumbadoras. This is a conga drum, and you're gonna see here. I have four drums here. This is what I play. This is what I prefer. But usually I teach one drum first because what's happening here is one drum is learning how to get the sound out of one drum, just like when you play a trumpet or a trombone, or you have to get a sound before you know any rhythms. So there's techniques that they have. The embouchure of the trumpet for the trumpet, the trombone, or what have you, fingering for the piano, fingering for the guitar. You know, there's techniques into playing this instrument, just like any other instrument. You hear, first of all, you hear different notes, right? So these notes, I get them by the tension, by tuning the drum, the tension of the drum, by turning each nut here. You have a half-inch nut here that pulls down this hook, and it pulls the drum skin down. And this is, the tighter it gets, the higher the pitch. As a matter of fact, talking about this here, this little invention here. Today, I'm celebrating, or we all celebrating, the birthday of Carlos Patato Valdez. He's a famous conga player who passed away. He was a good friend of mine. And the style of playing that I learned it from him. And this is a style that he plays. He played four congas too. As a matter of fact, this is his tuning. This is the tuning that he used when he played his four drums. At the time when we're talking of late 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, when we had the Cuban invasion with Chano Pozo, Candido, Mongo Santa Maria, Patato came in town, and he was ahead of his time because of the tuning of the drums. Him, Candido were the first ones here tuning these tumbadoras to a certain note, to a certain chord also. And the reason why, because Patato played bass and also played the tres. So musically, they were inclined. They're not like a drummer who just play and everything is by ear. And when they tune a drum, they would just crank it up, to your taste, which is okay also, But musically, Patato was the one that taught everybody. He taught me anyway. The way of how you're supposed to tune your drum. It's just like when a violinist is going to perform or play, she tunes up her violin or he, before they perform. It's like anything. They tune up the bass, you tune up the guitar, all these instruments. So you have to treat this like an instrument, like a piano. And talking about Batato, since today's his birthday, he had passed away, and we did some traveling a lot with the Latin Legends band. And he was a very funny guy, and he was also informative. He was ahead of his time, and before the first drums that came in that were from Cuba, they were tightened by tack heads, tacks, thumbtacks, nails. Thumbtacks were tightened around the head of each drum. So this is how we do it. They would pull the skin wet, pull it down, and they would hammer in some tacks along the edge of the drum. And then when it dried, it would tighten up, and then you would get your note. So those tack heads were the first drums that were brought into the States without any kind of mechanism like these hooks that we use to tune them up. Patato was said to be the inventor of these hooks here, of this apparatus here that made it easy for congas to be tuned. So this is why we should give a lot of praise to a man like Patato Valdez. And it was said to be his invention that made this easier for the congas to be tuned. Usually in the beginning with the tack head drums, where they would go down in pitch, they used to walk around with a little can of the fire that they use for the buffets under, so they could heat up the food. And this is how they would tune the drum up. They would put it under the drum for a little bit, and it would tighten up the skin. So that was their wrench, their wrench. So Patato was the inventor of the hooks here that make it easier for me to tune it up and down. I don't have to walk around and play with fire or anything like that. But the notes that he chose were a melody of a C7 chord. Now, I just want to go over the notes on these drums for the people here who are musicians. They know more or less a piano, any notes here. This here is F, G, B flat, C. And I believe that would be a C7 chord. I don't know if you guys could hear this here. Let me see. Let me see what we can find here. Where are we? F, right? G. It's more or less there. B flat, which is the same as A sharp. And you got the middle C here. So you have those four notes. And this is why Patato played all these melodies of that you probably heard a lot by some conga players, that they use the Manteca melody. makes it easy to play melodies because once you're tuned, you already sound good without even playing any rhythm. Just hit the drum. So half your job is already done. Now, this is not half of it, it's just part of it. Besides, now we got to build up technique, sound, and then comes the rhythm of the patterns that we use for the congas, and there's multiple patterns and time signatures and stuff like that. So another one that I like to use with this tuning is Oye, ¿cómo va? The coro that we do is siento un bombo, mamita te está llamando. So if this is a part of what I do, and this is part of the technique that I use as a drummer that I learned also as the years pass by of myself learning from other musicians, and also taking these and trying to take it to another level by playing melodies on these congas here. Now, out of one drum, like I said before, you know, you get 4 sounds out of this drum here. We have an open tone, which you got to put your hand almost like a paddle, and just your wrist. See, a lot of guys get tired because they do this. All you got to do is this here. So this is already, you're saving your stamina here. So there's a way of not have to fly all over the place. And this is where you get your aches and pains here, and you start sweating and you start huffing and puffing. So these little techniques here, you don't have, you only could raise your hand, you're only allowed to like 6 inches off the drum. There's no way you can, you know, you're not going to survive or not playing like this. Now, this is a basic tumbao. Now imagine if somebody's doing playing their hand up here on the top. So what's happening here is that when they're up here, and if I play the same tumbao down here, they're already late. By the time they come down here, you're supposed to be on the drum already. You see, so therefore that's when the time starts going back and back, and you start dragging the band, the rhythm, the tempo. So that's what. Besides the open tone, there's a slap, that pop, crispy sound. That's produced with your fingertips. It's like a whip. So if you kind of, and your fingertips are the only ones that are hitting here in the center of the drum. So I call this like a donut in the middle here. So your fingertips are around that donut. That's where it's hitting. So you got the open tone and the slap, and then another sound, the bass note, which is that deep thud, and you hit by the palm of your hand is how you produce that sound here. Now I'm going to do a bass and tone. Now a slap tone. All those there's 2 or 3 more sounds that you get out the drum, like the muff tone is like a choke. So what you're doing, you're not letting the skin vibrate, you're holding it down, and it's not a hit. It's just, you're just holding it down. Open, close. With those 4 basic sounds, we produce this rhythm. It's called a tumbao, which is 90% of all music uses this rhythm here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the slap is in there, the bass, the tone. So going back to Patato, Candido, these guys are the pioneers in Latin jazz, which is the genre that I play here. That we have this series on. That we used to have this series at the New York Week, and hopefully we'll be back after this whole thing calms down a little bit. But we miss performing there. But these conga players are the pioneers of Latin jazz because they played these rhythms. They played these Afro-Caribbean rhythms that they brought from Cuba. We also bring from Puerto Rico. We also bring from Colombia, from Brazil. So we mix in the roots of each folkloric rhythm from each country, Latin American country, which they do it now. Before in the beginning was Afro-Cuban. A lot of the Cuban rhythms were blended in with the jazz harmonies. This is when Chano came in to play with Dizzy, and also not only him, but you had Patato play with Kenny Durham, and you also had a lot of jazz people with the Latin tinge. They also played Herbie Mann, plays Latin feeling music, which is in turn the new Latin jazz, which is a cousin of the straight ahead American form of jazz. So this is like the cousin. It was born here in New York with Machito, Mario Balzar here in the 40s. They were playing it. Dizzy and Chano made it popular when they recorded tunes like Manteca, Tintindeo, Bling Bling Bling. So Dizzy, popularized the Latin jazz feel as soon as he collaborated with Chano. But before that, we had Machito and his Afro-Cubans playing these instrumental jazz tunes with a Latin beat. And what we do is we put the Latin in the jazz by playing the Latin percussion that we do with me, Victor Rendon, and Willie Martinez. We each have different instruments that we prefer to play. Like for myself, the congas, Victor has the timbales, and Willie the drums. So they adapt all the rhythms, all the Latin rhythms, and we blend it in with straight ahead jazz. We could either do some standard jazz tunes and we Latinize it by putting these rhythms in. We have rhythms from Cuba called a guaguancó. So a guaguancó, you probably heard the basic melody of that is. Now this rhythm guaguancó, right? So it goes deeper than what you're hearing here now, because this guaguancó that I'm playing here has different variations of playing it. Guaguancó, when you hear it like this, with these two hits here, this style of playing guaguancó is from Havana. This is how in Cuba, this is a style of playing guaguancó, Havana style guaguancó. For instance, in my town size, they play the guaguancó. Not you're gonna hear with two hits here. They play with one hit. Right? Havana. Matata. So when they tell me play Wawanko, sometimes I break it down. You want Havana style or you want Matanza style? They don't know what I'm talking about. But you have to know these rhythms when you break it down. You got to know where it came from, the name of this instrument. Another rhythm from Cuba you have here that I've been going a lot with Victor. We're working on a book that I'm coming out with Victor, hopefully by next year. And we got all these instruments and all these rhythms and all these written down. A lot of the stuff that I learned, we kind of put it in the book. So another rhythm from Cuba is called the Mozambique. And the Mozambique was formed in Cuba in the 60s by Pello el Afrocan. That was his nickname, Pello el Afrocan. But he invented this Mozambique rhythm, and that's really from the carnival. So they playing the same rhythm all the way down the streets, like all night and all morning, But this is a carnival rhythm that it sounds this way. I'm gonna let me see if I can. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make it nice and easy over here. Let me see if you guys could hear this clave here. Let me see. Can anybody hear that? I hope. Okay, what I'm going to do is first, let's go back to the Wawanko. I hope you guys can hear it. Havana, Matata. Back to Havana. So this is just so you can hear it in clave. This Mozambique is a fast rhythm. Let me see if I can. Okay. I hope I don't drown out the clave with the drums. So I'm trying to put the earpiece closer to us. Now let's try the Mozambique. See how intricate this rhythm is. It's more like a 4-bar phrase. Here it goes. So now you see how that complicated rhythm was created like in the 60s. What happened was now we had the embargo still and we weren't getting any music from Cuba. So the musicians here that would play with Eddie Palmieri, like Manny Oquendo, Tommy Lopez, Little Ray Romero, they would hear these cassettes, or they would hear the radio. They would try to get the shortwave radio and try to hear some of the music, and they bumped into this rhythm here, this Mozambique. But what they did, they had their own version. We created our own version, the New York style of Mozambique, which sounds a whole lot different. I'm going to demonstrate, and you're going to see how this one sounded compared to what I'm going to play now. So if you get to research and listen to some Eddie Palmieri and his La Perfecta recordings from the 60s, he has a couple of albums with this rhythm here, with the New York style Mozambique. So we went and we ran with it. We created that rhythm and labeled it Mozambique. Now when they started lifting the sanctions a little bit easier on Cuba, they found out this is not Mozambique, you know. So we still kept the name, but now we just got to put like New York Mozambique in there to distinguish the sound. Now you heard the first sound. I'm just gonna play a little bit of the New York Mozambique. You see, so what I did was this usually was played in two drums, and I could play the same rhythm, one, two, three drums, and four drums. So I kind of opened it up here, playing this rhythm by itself on one drum. It's the same pattern. I'm gonna play one drum, and then two, like I did, three, and then four. That's two. Three, four. So it's the same pattern. It's the same pattern as the one, but what I'm doing, I'm substituting, like for instance, just to give you a little breakdown of what I just did here. The basic pattern, first part. Now what I did on here on this bass, I substituted with this note. I did. So this is the second part. I could even do here or keep it here. I'll keep it here for now because that's going to be substituted with this one here later on. See, so. Now the left hand, when I do that, that's for this drum here. So now I substituted this one. I'm still doing this one here. I'm saving this one for the last, for the low drum. So that's how I break it down anyway. It's a lot of substituting. So if I can play this whole rhythm with one drum, so the guy hands me a drum and say, "Here, we're doing a Mozambique. I know what to do with that one drum. I can fill it in." This is where that comes in with the getting your sound as the drum, learning how to, all those sounds are coming out of there, so you can build that sound and you can play that rhythm clearly. Over here I'm using tones and bass. So this is as far as I'm just want to give you a little touch of what I do with my drum here, with my congas. So this is how I evolve in doing rhythm. So this is also not only learning rhythms from Cuba. Puerto Rico has their Afro Puerto Rican rhythms also that I record also and with in the jazz format like a Latin jazz. So I will use Afro-Cuban rhythm. I will use Afro-Peruvian rhythms. We did a lando. I recorded a lando with cajones, which is the box that you sit on, and this is their traditional drum, for in Peru. This rhythm lando is one of their rhythms. They have another one, festivo, and so forth. But I like to record different um, different rhythms from different countries and blend it in with the New York sound, and I try to put it all together and mix it in with some straight ahead jazz. So I might have an interlude with doing all of a sudden Mozambique and come back into a straight ahead. So this is how I kind of mix things around, but it's got to be done right, written right, which it's got to be seamless. You can just throw it in there. So knowing, I did a master class yesterday, and I remember going to Tufts University about 2 years ago, and I went to do a master class for their Latin jazz rhythm um, course, and the teacher had a chart, a Mozambique chart, and they could never. He said, "I tried this all year. These guys can't get this tune down." I said, "Well, let me hear it." First of all, they had nobody there to play Mozambique, but they had the drummer did a little thing on the bell. So I played it slower. When I counted off, everybody was all over the place. But you know why? Because they didn't know what a one was here. So they will go technically. Okay, I'm waiting for the count of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Just go, you know. But as they go, they drive them blind because they're not listening to what's happening here. This rhythm, especially. And then I would embellish it. Yeah. Yeah. But they didn't know where to want. That's where everything collapsed. And I figured it out for the professor. I said, well, first of all, I asked the sax players, the kids, you know what the one is? They started laughing. No, they didn't know. So how are you going to do this tune if they don't know the roots of this here, the bass is here? That I think they try to bite off more than what they could chew. So I would tell the professor, the piano player, but I came in to do a percussion. Finally, I came back again to do like a simple percussion thing, like what I'm doing now, so I could understand where that beat is, where's the one in Wawanko. How come I played the Wawanko opposite the clave? Because usually people would think, boom, ding, ding, boom, boom, ding, ding, ding. That's wrong. Because in rumba style, you're playing it now in a format for a band, for instance. For a band, well, trumpets, trombones, and piano and bass, and you hear kimbala kimbala kimbamba kimbala kimbamba. The congas is playing with the clave, but that's música popular, which is like popular salsa music. And in rumba, if you hear los muñequitos de matanza, los papines from Cuba, this is their rumba is opposite the clave. The guaguancó is the reason why, because the quinto player is, you have 3 or 4 drummers. You've seen that before, 3 or 4 drummers sitting down and playing. The quinto, he's accenting with the clave. Imagine if everybody go go ba da, ba 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 ba. Everybody go over here. So this way, the bass player, the congas is going opposite the bass. The bass will play with the clave. That space is for the quinto to fill in. So now these are laws that you got to know in these rhythms. When I hear somebody playing with the clave, I walk away. I say, I know where this guy's at. You know, he doesn't know anything. You know, those basic laws. It's just like you see a stop sign when you're driving. What do you got to do? You got to stop. It says yield. You got to yield. I mean, those things are automatic. I call them laws that you got to learn first before you drive, before you play. I mean, after you get the sound out, then you got to do research. Um, Colombian music, Puerto Rican music. You know, we study jazz. The the Latino, we have a lot of jazz players that are in the mainstream. That was Hilton Reese, Dave Valentin, Chick Corea, Eddie Gomez, to name a few. Juan Tisol, who wrote Caravan. You know, we had guys who are in the mainstream of straight ahead jazz, and it's easy for us to adapt because we learn and we study the jazz format, you know, here. But it's so hard because the people for the jazz people can't get with clave. They don't know what clave is. They don't know how to phrase around it. They don't know a certain montuno on a piano. I used to do a lot of club dates, and then when they want to do a Latin salsa, you know, it's okay. We're gonna play salsa, and the piano player will play don don ting ka ding kong kong king like Brazil. Don don ting. Okay, now we're gonna do a cha cha. Don don ting don kong. You know, play a montuno 145 or C7. Don, oh, oh, eh. I could play montuno with the tuning I have on these drums. You know, so a little thing like that on a keyboard just for them to take the time and to study and listen to Eddie Palmieri, listen to you know, guys who what is his name? I just mentioned I play with him anyway. With Hilton, you know, Montunos, Chucho Valdez, you know what have you, you know. But we have a lot of influences in Latin jazz besides like Tito Puente, Ray Barreto, Eddie Gomez, like Willie Bobo, Jerry Gonzalez. If you hear the Jerry Gonzalez Fort Apache band, that's the template I use for my Latin jazz group because it's New York, it's hardcore New York music, it's straight ahead jazz, and they got one hand in the roots of the rhythms of the Afro Caribbean roots. All of they got their hand deep in the bottom, and the other one is way up there in the jazz world, and all the fusion and stuff. So these guys did this to do Latin jazz for real, not instrumental salsa, because sometimes you have bands that'll play Latin jazz by playing a salsa tune without the singer. The trumpet player will play the vocal part, and it's a mambo. You know, it's not really Latin jazz where you're gonna hear some straight ahead stuff like the stuff that Hilton was involved with. Um, now guys like back in the day were Cannonball Adderley, Art Blakely, Stan Getz, McCoy Tyner. You know, all those cats, they all dabbed into the Latin tinge. They all collaborated with that. Till this day, I think McCoy had recorded an album with a Latin jazz album. Chick Corea did one also. So it's a lot of different things, a lot of way to go here, you know. And out of all the years that I've been here playing this music, this is what I would like to pass to you, even though if you're a musician or not, but at least have the idea of of what's going on. What is the sound of Latin jazz, true Latin jazz, different from salsa, different from merengue, different from bachata. Uh, kind of a thing, you know. So this is where we at with this here. Like I said, Chano Pozo in the 40s came over here and made it popular with Dizzy. But I'm right now next week, as a matter of fact, I'm producing a video, and I'm gonna focus on two other people besides Dizzy and Chano Pozo that were the fathers of Latin jazz. But you also had Monk and Mongo Santa Maria. So I'm going to collaborate with those two, the music of Monk, Thelonious Monk, and we're going to Latinize it, but we're gonna play it jazz Latin. This is not a Latin jazz. I like to consider my group, my band, as jazz Latin. So it's like a straight ahead jazz band, but with congas. Don't think that Latin jazz. People who don't know, they say, "Okay, where's your singer?" That's not a singer for Latin jazz. A singer is for a salsa band. So right away, I know you're the promoter. You hear the jazz festivals. They got like these salsa groups there. What is a salsa group? I thought this was a jazz festival. I got hired one time to do a festival. Okay, who's singing for you? I said, "Well, you singer." Yeah, I don't have a singer. I got a quintet: drums, piano, bass, congas, and a tenor sax. Latin jazz. Yeah, but we wanted a Latin jazz. We wanted a singer, so you wanted a salsa band. I thought this was a jazz festival. What are you doing with a salsa band here? Then you should have called it the Salsa Festival, or the Salsa and Latin Jazz. But we're not a salsa band. They can't, they don't know the difference. And it bugs, like, it bothers me, like, this is like, for me, so obvious. But and he's a promoter, and he's supposed to know this stuff here. So how do you hire your guys? There's a there was a festival, and mostly all of them was salsa bands. Yeah, I told the guys, you just change the name of this festival. I told them I was pissed off. I said, this is not a jazz festival. Just like uh, this trombone player I played with, I did a couple of gigs with him, and we got mad and we did a famous festival, but it was like smooth jazz. Even in jazz, they have smooth jazz stuff like Najee, Kenny G, and these guys are hard boppers. We're talking, some hard swinging cats, man, and they got kind of like annoyed at this, that most of the acts were like these fluffy fusiony, I don't know what it was anyway, you know, kind of a music, so it's a whole lot of things that people still don't know to this day, and it surprises the hell out of me. Why is that? Growing up here in New York, I was born and raised here, and I was fortunate enough. I grew up with the Beatles, with Motown, with the Rolling Stones, uh, and the Spanish radio in the house, But I grew up with all this other stuff, and I dig me Marvin Gaye and James Brown just as well as Mick Jagger, and when the Beatles came, forget about it. It was Ringo. He was the man. But with all those influences that I have, I can appreciate all this music, and I got to play with flamenco groups, uh, straight ahead jazz, Grady Tate, Angelo Bofield and Dave Valentine, to name a few, which changed my perspective, because I started off as salsa, but the salsa scene was sinking down, or was going out after 9/11 happened. All the clubs started closing, and they started disappearing. The bands started. The bands were there, but they were nowhere to play. Just like now with this pandemic. Now I have to talk to you this way, because it's not the same as before, where I was going to be in front of you and I'll show you how to play the drum. I'll show you how to hit it, and you one-on-one contact. So this is another change for us as musicians that we have to deal with, and learning how to also adapt and make a living now off of this whole new change here. So, so these little things that come around, I have to adapt to that in order to keep surviving on this, in my field anyway. Even any other workers, they're working from home. Nurses, not nurses, but people in offices. They're working from home now, and so this is how we have to also evolve with the music. So this is how I see it. So it's something I'm starting to learn how to record now. So I'm being an engineer at the same time. See the microphone? This is my setup here. So now I have to be an engineer. I got to be a conga player. I got to be a leader. I got to be the band boy. I got to mop the house. I got to throw out the garbage. So it's more stuff for me to do. And then I got to practice. So I have a chart that we're gonna do with the. This is our next venture here with this workshop with an arrangement by Joe Manazzi. So with a lot of great musicians that we get together. So this is a new normal for us. I just wanted to have you understand what we're doing here, what I do, what each musician do with their instrument, with their time, with their talent, with their expertise. So I just wanted to give you a little touch of what I do. And next time we're going to be playing more rhythms together. I'm going to show you how to play a tumbao, even though if you're not a conga player. So if you're a bass player, you're a guitar player, you're a piano player, at least if you know where this is at, you can phrase with that and know how to. I'll show you how to break it down. And it's not only stuff in 4/4. There's 5/4, 7, and 9. But the most common time is 4/4. I'll break down a pattern. If you don't have a drum, you can use a table in front of your computer, or you could use your knees. And so I'll show you how to get the sound out of there. We're going to start basic. At least this will give you an outlook of where musically where it's at when you play. See if you're down on the downbeat with me. Why am I playing this here? And how do I accent? For instance, if I just want to do something quick, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and. I'm doing 4 and over here. This is my 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So these are eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you repeat one bar phrasing. Now to play in clave, just going to show you a quickie, just so you can see. I'm going to put son clave. I'm going to put son clave. I'm going to try about 80 beats per minute. Now you hear that? Now I could also hit 1. Now when you hit 2 and 1, this one's got to last. It's got to land on the third beat of the first bar of the 3/2 on the fourth beat. So this is how I know I'm playing in clave. So I'm without a. If you don't have a clave player, I'm showing you what a 2/3 or 3/2 is at. So. I'm on the fourth beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pa, pa. So if I play pa, 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 because I'm giving you the accent here of where that 4 is on the 3 side. So for instance, this is just in case you guys don't follow me, the other people, but the musicians that do. This is just a little taste of how to play in clave, because each instrument in Latin, they have to phrase around this clave. So, even though the guy is not playing those, the clave sticks here. So this is, that's what it is. So if you don't have anyone playing the clave there for you, you're playing it here. So I'm giving you the clave there. Anyway, this is just a little little foresight to see what's happening ahead. All right. So thank you again for spending some time with me, and hope to see you guys again next month, and then even some more people here. Next week, Victor Rendon is going to be here. And then the week after that, Willie Martinez. So I'm here the first Wednesday of every month. So thank you again for hanging out, and have a good week and weekend. Okay. Thank you very much.